schools, or should most of them, are out around here. Summer has started for just about all the kids. And if you're a teacher, it's started for you too, except probably have to go in and clear out and clean up the desks and all your stuff to leave and enjoy your summer vacation. Um, Going to discuss a little bit tonight. I've discussed it before on the show. We were mentioning last week and the week before a couple times other forms of divination has come up, and what some of those other divination things are. Oracle cards were discussed as one of the things. Um, and something else that you are probably all familiar with if you haven't personally ever used one. You've at least heard of them. And we've had this on the show before. The Ouija board. Uh, this is, and I'm mentioning this tonight because I actually got a really neat looking one today. This is the Ouija board we are all familiar with and have seen, with the little plastic mover, and the letters show up through circle. That's in it if you haven't actually ever used one, and it'll spell out words or go down to the numbers or say yes or no. It's done with two people. You sit across from one another so that your knees are touching, and then the board sits on top of both people's laps that are doing it. And then you ask your questions. There's a lot of debates and different beliefs. They sell these in the toy store, and the box actually says ages 8 to adult. Regardless of the different beliefs out there, this really, there's no way the beginning age on this should be 8. It should not be sold in toy stores. There's beliefs that people have that, this is just a piece of heavy, thick cardboard or whatever it's made from. It's manufactured, by machines in a warehouse, and no harm done. It's just to fool around with and mess around with, and any other different types of beliefs, are looked at as, yeah, right, and a joke. I've discussed on the show before about, it should not be done with children. It shouldn't be done unless, you really know what you're doing. It really can be a tool used to connect to the other side, and you don't necessarily know who you're going to be connecting with. All right, do you have an opinion? I've never had you chime in on your opinion.
Well, I'm how can I say this? I don't want to be contradictory, so I'm going to put
No,
it.
go right ahead.
No, well, no, it's not. It's not contradict. I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about contradicting you. What I'm saying is, if you're against using the Ouija in a paranormal investigation, you would have to be against using all forms of equipment.
Right.
They all, to a certain degree, you are manipulating energies on both sides. The Ouija does have a little more documented history of actually having negative things happen, I think, especially in recent history, and that's why people feel the way they do.
Right.
But in all actuality, using the Ouija board is no different than doing an EVP session, except that your EVP recorder has batteries in it and it's not made of cardboard. But the intention for communication is the same. So
Right.
I think the Ouija has gotten a bad rap, possibly deserved. Should they make the pink one for kids aimed at girls 8 and under? No. But then really, what age do you start teaching children about the occult? It can get real hairy real quick.
Right, right. And that also brings up Eric, mentioning, the things that we do when we're doing the paranormal investigating. What's your belief with children coming along?
Ah, see that's another huge gray area, because you can tell people, and I'm going to air quote this, people what to do and not to bring their children, and they're going to do it anyway.
Right.
I think if you're going to bring your children along, I think they need to be of their own intelligent age. They need to be able to make their own decisions. So, depending on the situation, I probably wouldn't suggest allowing kids to start doing it until they were 13 or 14.
Right.
With that being said, that can also be like throwing chum in the water for sharks too, because especially with girls at around the age of puberty, there's a lot of already very strong energy that can get very easily manipulated and everything else. So once again, you can tell people not to do it, and they're going to do it anyway.
Right.
But if I had to set an age, I'd say 13, because I think when you're 13 or 14, you are old enough and have seen enough to make your own decisions. So.
Right, right. Well, the reason that I started with the Ouija tonight was because today I actually got a very unique one. I'm glad I was going to open it right here on the show, and I'm glad I chose not to do that live, because always getting the packaging open, there's an issue, especially if you're doing it live on air. So I got it out ahead of time. This is the Ouija. It is basically for me, it's going to be packed away until I can get it and use it for display rather than use. This is the Tree of Life talking board. It is by Nemesis now. There's writing, I probably can't see it, on the back with the lighting. Hard to get that. It just basically says, few mystical tools surpass the talking board in terms of infamy and effectiveness. Let a white candle burn as far from the board as the tallest inquirer is high. This will protect you from any negative forces which may appear, with fingers resting lightly upon the I never can say that. Planchette.
There you go.
Planchetti. Ask your question and wait for the spirits to answer you. A powerful divination tool. This should not be feared, but embraced. You can see it has the Tree of Life in the center with the pentagon. There's rubber knobs here on the top. There's 4 of them. That is because there is, if I can get this without causing damage, and this is why I probably would never use it. It's a round glass top that sits on the top, and then from the looks of it, I would imagine it would get somewhat scratched up. There's no rubber bottoms on this at all for it to go across the words, the letters, and the numbers. It has goodbye on it. A lot of differences. The letters are around the edge, in a circle. The goodbye is across the bottom. The numbers are here in the center. This would be, like I said, probably for a display piece. If somebody has an office or just, a separate room area in the house with their different things, meditation candles, things like that, whatever you might have set up in there. Using it, it's not one that I would use on a regular basis. I did do a quick Google, and somebody was showing it on YouTube, and he mentioned he used it just like twice, and because there's no protective anything, rubber or anything, and this is meant to just glide across the glass, there were, some glass nicks in it and damage to the glass. So I just wanted to bring that on. If anybody's, people are always asking me different types of things that are out there, divination. People are always collecting things just for their uniqueness, and I would say this is a very neat display, unique Ouija. Again, it's from Nemesis Now, and it's the Tree of Life talking board. Now, from what I understand, I don't know if it's from the same company, probably, since they were made the same, but if you don't, for whatever reason, like the pentacle or the Tree of Life in the center, there's one that has rabbits depicted in the center, and a couple different other trees. If you do pick this up, don't do what I did and, have a slight moment thinking it's broke or damaged, because first thing I noticed when I was pulling it out was I thought it was cracked. But it's not. It's made that way. If you turn it over, I don't know how good you can see with the glare, but you can see in the back how the cracks are like supposed to be the roots of the tree, and it looks more rooty looking at it from the back. So that's what the lines are. If you're noticing cracks in it looking like it may have been dropped or something, it hasn't. That's the design that was given to it. If you're going to use it, it gets used. There's no directions or anything with it, so it gets used just like you would your regular Ouija. It is on the heavier side. I believe this is resin that it's made from. There's, like I said, there's no info packet, pamphlet, or anything with it. That's the material that it feels like to me. So that is something that, if you're out there for unique, and again, this is the mover, it would, the letters would stop in the center of the cutout. If you're looking for uniqueness in something, this would be one to consider and look into having. So I wanted to just share that with you tonight. Do you use Ouijas, Eric?
Never owned one, so I can't say that I've ever made a habit of using one. So I've been around when they've been used before. I'm not really scared of them, but like once again, the Ouija, just like anything else, boils down to intention.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
If people are scared of it, then don't use it. But just because somebody else uses it doesn't mean they're demon spawn or anything else. People get so silly with Ouija. It's so polarizing sometimes. It's ridiculous.
I I know, and you get it with just the fact, paranormal investigate. And oh my God, what do you do? And tarot card read, anything
Yeah.
that that involves anything that we do. You get the belief out there that it's completely taboo, and we all must be devil's spawn or whatever.
Right.
There's good and bad in everything in life.
That's true.
And in all of us too. We all have the ability to do bad deeds, but we all don't follow through and do it. So that's with everything. The other thing I showed briefly last week, and I still did not have a chance to look at it. I've been all week with doctors and having tests done and MRIs and everything, so I had not had the chance to touch it at all. So it's going to get delayed again. And that's the Gorgons Tarot, and it is by Dolores Stitche. I'm not sure how you pronounce the last name. I'm sure I botched it a bit. And it's by Schiffer, the treasure chest box, as I like to call it. And these are unique because, well, they're black and white, strictly black and white, and they're round. And they're large, as you can see. I consider myself an average hand, not a small hand. One-handed, I cannot, with one hand, get my fingers around the entire deck from the top to the bottom. So I need the two hands. So it's a circular deck. I've never had a round deck, nor read with a round deck. So that's why I don't want to really discuss the deck at all, because never having even used a round deck, I am going to have to give this some attention besides just going through the cards one by one and randomly. But here's, some people might be turned off immediately just because there's no color. The Devil card has some red in it. And this is, what I did notice when I was going through it, is it's a female deck. Not necessarily meant for female readers, meaning, all flowery and stuff, but except for the King cards, there's no males that I noticed with the brief couple times I went through the thing. And some of the Kings have like a neutral look to them, such as this is the King of Pentacles. A male or female king? Kind of a neutral look to him. So this is very, 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 very few men depicted in this deck at all. And if you're a person that likes to incorporate color meanings and add that into your reading, you're not going to be able to use this deck because it is, as I said, strictly black and white. This is the back, what the back of the cards look like. This one is the Mermaid, is the Queen of Cups. So that's a look at this deck briefly, because that's all I was able to do with it, and I don't want to, discuss anything in depth that I have not given fair attention to. But that, if you're into unusual, since we're, I mentioned the unusual Ouija, Uh, Maybe you just collect tarot in different tarot decks. This would be an unusual one due to black and white only, except for the view that has red in it, and the fact that it's a round deck. Have you ever read with a round deck, Eric?
No, I can't say that I had. I don't think round is not a very common deck shape.
No, it isn't. I'm trying to. There's one that I know of, and I didn't even think of looking it up before coming on. And then I have another one. I do have one. I haven't used it. It's like the different saints. Now, I think if I remember, I don't think it's an oracle deck. I think it is a tarot deck. But again, I haven't been able to give it the attention because it's the saints. And saints that I've never even heard of. So it's not only learning the deck, it's learning the saints and the meanings along with it. So even though I have one, I have not touched it. I've had that deck, I guess, for 2 years. I got that down at Reader's Studio. It just caught my eye and I grabbed it.
Yeah, I've seen a few and I've handled a few oracle decks, but I'm not a, how can I put this? In my meager tarot experience, I am not. How can I? It's hard for me to say this. I can't visualize off of that few images. Does that make sense?
Right.
Some of the imagery doesn't. I just don't connect with the oracle deck type imagery.
Right.
Um,
right.
I don't know. It's just not for me.
Right.
You know. That,
no, I fully get that because it doesn't work for me. I can't do them for, just an reading. There's people out there that can. They strictly use oracle decks. When I use them to end a session with a client, and only when we're face to face. And I usually always have one of the angel oracles with me. I think it's Three Virtues and a unicorn deck that I have just because I collect unicorns. And people usually go after the angel deck, and basically all I use it for is for the message, the sentence or two that's written on the bottom of the card.
Right.
The message that's there for them, and it always ends up applying, and it just like kind of wraps up everything, and their final thing. Here you go.
Yeah, and I don't want to offend any of the lay normand people, but that's kind of, to me, like I said, once again, in my meager experience and opinion, lay normand is almost an oracle type deck because the imagery is just so much simpler. And people say it's a very pure. It's very direct. It's very pure. It still seems to me to be an oracle deck. It's not. It's not the same as tarot.
Is that no? I did finally get one Lenormand deck, and I have not had the inclination to work with it. It's what it is. There's no background scenery. If it's a dog card, it's a picture of the dog. However, the artist of the deck chose to, illustrate the dog. Okay, so what? I don't know.
Yeah, it's once again, at least in my meager experience, it's just something I don't connect with.
Right.
There's even some Rider-Waite base decks out there that I don't really think I would ever use. The transparent deck is one of them.
Right.
To me, while I understand the layers that when you talk about it, it doesn't connect to me. It's not something that would appeal to me to use.
I don't use it. I've never used it for a reading, actually. It was just, if I got it at Reader's Studio again, you're in that environment and you see the unusual and it's like, oh, okay, why not? It was a pretty expensive, oh, why not, too.
Yeah.
But we won't go there. But no, I've never used that deck for for any readings. I fiddled around with it, but, just to see how it works. And it's a neat, unusual concept. It's not offending, the person that made it, but it's basically for those that have never seen it. It's clear. The cards are clear, thick plastic, and the pictures are very simple, and they're basically stick figures, and they're small on the card, and they're placed at different spots on the card. So if you have the Queen of Pentacles, it might be pictured down here in the lower corner. Because the purpose of that, instead of putting the cards side by side, you layer them one on top of the other, and then you're able to see through, and the pictures end up making a more elaborate picture. Very unique, interesting concept with it. Another deck that I have that I haven't even taken the wrapping off of it. The Osho Zen. Have you used that, Eric?
No, that one I don't think I've ever even heard of.
Okay. I only heard of that because it came up with something else, and I was like, what is that? It has its own different concept than the tarot, and I don't have time to sit there and learn how, what a new complete deck's about, and sit there and take the time to even read the book with. So I haven't even taken it out of its, the seals that it's in. I tend to stick, for the most part, with the good old Rider-Waite. For the most part, I stick to that one. There was times where, for whatever reason, prior to a reading that I'm set up to do, a deck will just draw my attention to grab it and bring it along to the appointment. I end up using it maybe or not, but I end up, incorporating the other deck somehow. You stick to the Rider-Waite too, don't you?
Yeah, currently right now the Rider-Waite is the only one I have.
Okay.
The only other deck that I've, and of course with all the decks that you reviewed, Arwen Lynch, when she did her show over here, she reviewed several.
Right.
Christiana has reviewed several on Sunday nights on her show. The only one that has really ever grabbed my eye, and I hope I'm remembering the right maker, it was the Tarot Illuminati with James Rickless, the one that's got all the gilded, all the background, some of it's gilded and all that. Yeah, that's the only other tarot that I've seen that actually spoke to me. I mean, I've seen, like you guys talk about, like the rock and roll tarot and all that kind of stuff. I can't. I guess I haven't been doing it long enough to where I can easily transfer their meanings over to meanings of the other cards, because I'm still an intuitive reader. I'm basically an intuitive reader.
Right.
So, like I said, I like to stick with the Rider-Waite in that particular, the Tarot Illuminati. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, it is.
It's just, and I've seen the pictures. It's just a beautiful deck to begin with. But the vibrancy and the story, the depictions of the cards are changed, but they're not massively changed.
Right.
He didn't try to reinvent the wheel. Instead of being a Chevrolet, he made a Cadillac. Is basically what it did.
And I don't even have that one. I was hoping you'd say maybe one of the ones that I haven't been drawn to use, that has been just sitting there being neglected, and I would have pulled it out and, got your address and sent it off to you. But I don't even have that one.
Yeah, that's
using it or not using it to do that for you.
Yeah, that's the only one, and I would appreciate that. But that's the that's the only other deck that I've really seen that just at a glance has ever really spoken to me. I mean, Kim sells several in her shop, and I
Right.
looked at them, and they're just not. They don't say anything. But I mean,
Right.
that's what you tell. That's what you're going to tell somebody when they first start. Anyways, you need to pick a deck that talks to you. You know,
Right,
you
and that's
need-
what we were talking about last week, and people were even asking in the chat room, what do you mean by that? What do you mean you're not, there might be a deck that you get nothing from and can't use. And that's exactly, what I was talking about last week. You're not going to radiate to every deck. It's just going to be like, oh, okay, that's pretty. Maybe you won't even think, oh, well, that's pretty. You're just going to say, oh, okay.
Right.
And you're certainly not going to be able to pull anything at all from it. It's just that kind of a, dead nothing reaction.
Yeah, and it's kind of like stones.
Right.
When you go to pick up crystals and whatnot, you don't just walk in there and grab one, and hopefully you don't just walk in there and then grab one and go, well, this is this, and it's going to be okay. You play around with them until you find one that feels right, or some people say they feel cooler when they touch them, or whatever. It's the same thing. It should be about what makes your comfort level the highest, because if your comfort level is high with it, then you're going to be more connected with what the Spirit's trying to tell you anyway.
And it's funny that you mentioned stones. I just ended up, I'm trying to go through the decks and things and get everything a little bit more organized. And it got pushed to the back of the shelf because I just forgot about it. Speaking of the stones, I have one. When I was in the shop, I had to have it. It was just, it just did that. You have to have this one. You're touching it and it needs to come home. I got it home. I haven't been able to go near it since. It's kept in its little, jewelry box and cannot go near. I took it out. I was going to, have it sit on the desk and have it sitting out. And it just, for whatever reason, after I got home, I can't even describe it. It felt gritty. Like sand, sandpaper feels from having this smooth, pleasant feel to it. I got it home and I was just like, ew. I couldn't put it down and get it out of my hand quick enough. Do you know enough about the stones to know why that would be, Eric?
That like Kim just mentioned it's just not going to be. It's just not for you. That particular stone, that might be something you want to give to somebody, and maybe it's for them.
Right.
I would. If when it comes to crystals and stuff, they're so personal. They have to be able. They have to say something to you for their intentions to have any kind of meaning.
Right. And it was so weird because in the shop, it did. Or whatever. I had it was just, I kept going back and being pulled to that particular one.
Or once again, like Kim just reminded me too, it may have been meant for you to buy for someone else.
Oh, great. Okay.
That very well could have been. Now who? No clue. But it would, but you'll know when it's time.
It's meant to go to you, Kim, in your shop.
Send it.
I will do that because, I got it about, 5 years ago, 7 years ago. And like I said, it went ill. I put it down. Every once in a while I had it in sight and I would try thinking, okay, maybe it's just something that was going on, in the household that day or whatever. That no, it didn't work. So it ended up in the back of the shelf, and I found it today as I was trying to organize one of the shelves.
What kind of stone is it, if you remember?
I don't know. I'm so horrible with the names of the stones. It's a clear yellow. Does Kim know what that is?
Is it like citrine?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably.
What's Kim's favorite stone?
Yeah, well, that's also Kim's favorite stone. But if it's like a pale palish, clear yellow.
Yes.
That's probably citrine.
And it's a crystal rather than a stone. You know,
Yeah.
the like the icicle type
Yeah. Well,
crystal.
like Becca Lynn in the chat room is asking if it's amber. No, amber's
Oh.
it's a totally different thing.
Like the pendulum, well, no, because it's not pointy. This kind of, when I saw it, my first thought, if you remember, I can't say the original Superman, but Superman, Christopher Reeve Superman, and back when he went back to his home, and it was the ice cave,
The
and he
Fortress of
had
Solitude.
the crystal things that he stuck
Yeah.
to get the machine going, to speak to his mother that passed, and whatever else he did with it. That was the exact thought that I had. The Superman movie.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not symmetrical or anything. It's not even. I can't even say it's a circle because there's like a stop sign,
Yeah.
octagon-y type crystal.
It's just a chunk.
Yeah, yeah. So there you go. I found its owner it belongs to. We will catch up with that after. I have it out because I just came across it. Yeah, that was the only one that I ever had that experience with, and I was just like, this is really, really weird.
You know, and maybe you'll know the answer to this question, Misha.
Yeah.
Are there any decks out there that are mineral or crystal based? That's something I've never seen.
There is. There is. The Crystal Tarot. I have it. I don't offhand where it is. I will have to pull that for next week. I'll have to make a note of that. I don't have a pen right now to remind me. But yes, there is. I was disappointed with it. It was because I hadn't seen it at all. I saw the name and I didn't even look up the cards or anything and what they looked like, which was the wrong thing to do. So I had a complete different pre-judgment of what the cards and the deck was going to be. That particular one. Actually, I think there's two, but this particular one I'm thinking of, it was not at all what I had expected. Hi, Gina just came. All right, I'm going to do a repeat since she missed it because I told her she had to come in here tonight to see the Ouija. So Gina came in along with a couple latecomers that missed it, and we've all seen the regular Ouija, and probably everyone knows what that looks like. The old rectangle, two people, for replaying, sold in the toy stores, or as Eric pointed out, sold in pink to attract the kids, which is not a good thing that should be done. This would be a display Ouija. I just got it today. It has the tree of life in the center, the legs, the things that look like legs sticking out, is because the glass topper sits on the top of it, and that's going to stay in its bubble wrap in between the styrofoam so it doesn't break. And then I have misplaced the hatchet. Here it is. And there's no backing or protection or rubber or anything because if it was rubberized, it's not going to slide across the glass. So this would be, if it's going to get used very rarely, more for display or anybody that collects things that are different and unusual and unique, because I imagine this will leave like scratch marks on the glass top. And the back of it, I'm not going to reread it, but there's writing, and it just basically says, you know, what this is, and gives their opinion of where to light a white candle and how far away from the board to place it for protection. So that's the Ouija that I got. Okay. I was seeing what was going on in the chat. Somebody doesn't have sound. So me telling you what to do is not going to do any good. It's in the chat. Thank you, Eric. What else? What else? Some questions that I have had. We did a lot last week. I discussed, you know, starting out, how to get started. Different places and ideas you might want to look into for reading, and some of the different things to consider that you don't think about until you start reading for others and professionally. And by then you know, you get stumped, and you know, you might end up in the middle of a read not knowing how to handle something. Ethics, we've discussed the code of ethics. I'm going to open up. You have the line open yet, Eric, or not?
Been open.
Okay. You can call in and you can chit chat, and any questions that you might have that I didn't address. I know I started on something last week, and I'm just having a brain melt right now and can't remember what I was going to add to it this week. Lots of concerns still with, you know, with which deck to get. And we were touching on what to do when the deck is worn out or you've lost a card or two. Do you dispose of them, or is there a proper way to dispose of them? And I was going over some crafty ideas that people have been known to do, and some ideas off the top of my head, being I've used to do crafts and just have no time for everything, even though I try. Psychic Circle is a neat Ouija board. I don't know that one. I'll have to look that one up. This one just, I'm not really a collector of Ouijas. This was just something somebody came across, thought it was neat, thought of me, and, you know, picked it up for me. So, it's not, like I said, it's not, maybe if I get the opportunity, you know, I might use it once, but that's about it. I have the regular Ouija. All it does is sit in the house. It was used one time when I first got it, and that's it. I don't have anybody here with me to do it with, and you do need two people. You also want to do the Ouijas with somebody that you can trust, that are not going to be, you know, trying to sneakily move it around on you. Okay, colors and pitch. Okay. I will have to look at that one. Do you have that one? Or you just know about it? Or used it with somebody that had it? You did have it, okay. Did you find it worked well? Any different? Any better than just the regular Ouija? Oh, okay, you gifted it away. It worked better, more detailed. Really? How so? Was it? It did it have it had the letters and the numbers and all on it, along with the colors and pictures? You can feel free and call in if you'd like, instead of waiting for the replies. Okay, the pictures and stuff. Okay. Wow, how was it, like extra large? Was it on the larger side or the standard size? Your phone said, okay, no problem. Figured calling him, would be easier than the little bit of lag waiting for you to type. That's okay, not a problem. It was bigger. Okay. What kind of pictures was it? Was it similar to like tarot cards? Was it single, just like a picture of a dog, a woman? I imagine not a lot of detail. Well, that's very cool. I will look that one up. Like musical notes. Okay, so did it come with a booklet where you had, each thing had its own meaning that you associated it to? Yes, it did. Okay. Well, that's interesting because the basic way that we know to use the Ouija is, you ask a question, you start getting an answer, and it's working. The first common question is, what is your name? And, it moves across the board and goes to each letter, spelling out the name. And then, what's your age? Go into the numbers, things like that. You might ask, what's your birth date? When did you pass? So I can't even imagine like what kind of questions would be asked to make it go to a picture. So that's really, really neat. And it had the zodiac on it. Wow, that was a lot in it, like you said, detailed. The picture part has me baffled. I will have to see that because, like I said, I have no clue what kind of question. All kinds of things. Yeah. Okay. And then sometimes it would go to a picture rather than spell out the word. Then. Well, that's neat. Did you ever hear that one, Art?
Never heard of that one, but I could see if it's got all those different things on it where if you did ask it a question, it would, it would tell you, it would send you in a direction to, if you ask an opinion type question, maybe it would send you to the astrological sign.
Right.
I mean,
right.
That would give you much more detailed information if you were familiar with those forms of divination.
Right. Speaking of that, did you see that video that woman did? It's going around on Facebook. She did the 12 zodiac signs. If you're on my Facebook page, I had to go back a couple days ago, maybe Monday, Sunday night, somewhere in there. This woman actually, acted out, speaking each zodiac sign. So when you click on the link, there's 12 different videos, about 4 to 6 minutes long each one, and she's, like an example, Libra will do me, because that's me, that's the one that stands out and I remember. And she's sitting in her chair, and she has the person running the camera with her, maybe somebody else, off camera when it stops. Maybe they were asking her questions, and she sits there. She acts out the personality of the zodiac. So for Libra, some of it was the things with Libra's harmony. Don't give me a choice. Don't give me a choice because I have to think of every single aspect for both decisions before I can make a decision. But once I make the decision, I'll follow through with it. And she takes on the different personality traits and describes known behaviorals for that horoscope zodiac sign. So you want to look that up. You can find it on my Facebook page, Terror by Misha, a couple days ago. She did a fantastic job. I didn't go through all of them, only about 3 or 4 where I actually know and can know somebody or a couple people with the zodiac sign to see how it relates and in what way. Pretty neat. We are running out of time. Coming up on the hour. So again, for those that tuned in late, the Ouija is from Nemesis Now, and this particular one, with the tree and the pinnacle in the center is the Tree of Life talking board. If you're interested in getting it. Nemesis Now is the company. From what I understand, there was one with bunny rabbits in the center. Couple different designs in the middle to pick from. And again, when you open it, don't think that it's damaged, that maybe it was dropped and cracked. From what I'm seeing, the cracks in it, because it is actual grooves. It's not just made to look like it's cracked. You can stick your fingernail in it. There's actual grooves. Not many, but a few. And on the back as well. And it's supposed to be like the branches or the tree roots or whatever to give it that look. So don't think that it's broke. I did. I started re-looking it up online, looking at images and, you know, trying to see if every image of it that was out there had cracks in it, and they did. So that's how it's made. With that, you know, keep your questions coming in. It's summertime, so, you know, pretty much you're stuck with me. I wanted to do a bit of a change with the show instead of having guests on every single week, so decided to do that for the summer since people go on vacation and they travel and do seminars and different things like that throughout the summer. I decided this was going to be when I start doing the show myself for a little bit, for a change up. So, you know, send in your questions, and, you know, even if they have already been discussed, I'll touch on them. If they haven't, I will, you know, gather them, collect them, and group similar questions together and put them in upcoming shows. And hopefully, you know, doctor visits and testing and everything slows down, and I will be able to look this one over and make a note to look for my the crystal deck that I have. I should still have that one. With that, we are going to call it a night. Stay cool, everyone. Be safe. Watch the kids because school is out, and the kids are out running around now in the streets, running out from between parked cars. Be safe. Be healthy. Have a fantastic week. See you next Wednesday.